Tonight, America says farewell to Ronald Reagan.
As he showed what a president should be, he also showed us what a man should be.
With a state funeral and a final salute to the 40th president. Then a final trip west to his beloved California to be laid to rest under the setting sun. And we'll tell the story of how a couple of young people were cast for supporting roles in the Reagan legacy.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather reporting tonight from Washington.
Good evening. An American ritual is drawing to a close tonight, the final farewell to a president, the one-time head of state and head of government, the combined leadership role called for in the Constitution. This particular ritual, filled with pageantry, eloquence, and emotional images, was the grandest of finales for the man from Hollywood who became president. A majestic state funeral here in the nation's capital for Ronald Wilson Reagan. On this National Day of Mourning, much of the business of the country was put on hold, and millions of Americans were brought together by television to hear words of praise for a beloved leader and to say farewell. CBS News Chief White House correspondent John Roberts begins our coverage from the Capitol.
For the president who saw politics as patriotism and pride the lifeblood of a nation, it was mourning in America one last time. And for the woman whose Hollywood romance became the ultimate political love story, the last goodbye. It was a script Ronald Reagan himself helped write in his waning years, a majesty to match the sheer magnetism of his personality. A final chance to connect with the thousands of people who lined the streets to watch the funeral cortege wind its way through the capital of what Reagan called his shining city on the hill to the National Cathedral. In the drizzle and mist of an unusually gray June day, Reagan's flag-draped coffin was a burst of color, seeming to mirror his sunny optimism as mourners gathered to celebrate an extraordinary life.
What you saw was what you got, and what you saw was that sure sign of inner light, the twinkle in the eye.
In the cathedral, 4 former and 1 sitting president, 25 heads of state, loyal members of Reagan's staff, old foes that became friends and family. Leading off the tributes, Britain's Iron Lady Margaret Thatcher. Too frail to speak publicly, her videotape message recalled how Reagan helped end the Cold War and change the course of history.
And as the last journey of this faithful pilgrim took him beyond the sunset, and as heaven's morning broke, I like to think, in the words of Bunyan, that all the trumpets sounded on the other side.
A fellow Irishman, Canada's former prime minister, remembered Reagan's certainty and panache.
At home and on the world stage, his were not the pallid etchings of a timorous politician. They were the bold strokes of a confident and accomplished leader.
It was the first President Bush who reflected Reagan's lightness of mood.
And oh, how President Reagan loved a good story. When asked, how did your visit go with Bishop Tutu? He replied, so-so.
But just beneath the smiles, the sadness of the day still lurked.
As his vice president for 8 years, I learned more from Ronald Reagan than from anyone I encountered in all my years of public life.
The current President Bush praised Reagan's bold leadership and moral clarity, a model the White House says for his own foreign policy. And he couldn't resist a little Western connection.
See, our 40th president wore his title lightly, and it fit like a white Stetson. In the end, through his belief in our country and his love for our country, he became an enduring symbol of our country.
While the nation said farewell today to its 40th president and Nancy Reagan to her companion of 52 years, in a sense, Ronald Reagan departed long ago, lost to the dark hallways of Alzheimer's. In a letter to the American people in 1994, Reagan wrote of his upcoming struggle with the disease, "When the Lord calls me home, whenever that may be, I will leave with the greatest love for this country and optimism for its future. From the cathedral, Reagan's remains were taken to Andrews Air Force Base to board the plane he ordered but never flew on as president. At the end of an exhausting week, as she mounted the stairs for the last journey home, a final wave from Nancy Reagan. In America, every day is a new beginning, said her husband once. Every sunset, the latest milestone in a voyage that never ends. At sunset tonight, Ronald Reagan's American journey will pass into history. John Roberts, CBS News, Washington.
And sunset in California comes just after 8 o'clock there. That is when President Reagan will be laid to rest at his library in Simi Valley overlooking the Pacific. CBS News correspondent Sandra Hughes is there tonight. Sandra?
Dan, in just a couple of hours, the final chapter begins. A military jet will touch down at a naval air station about 15 miles from here. And the week will end where it began, in California. From early morning, spectators have lined the route, waiting for a last glimpse of the motorcade carrying the man California sent to the White House. And every single detail of this afternoon's burial service has been rehearsed, from the volley of musket fire to the Marines' 21 howitzer salute.
It's an absolute honor. Reagan was loved. Reagan loved Marines, and we love Reagans.
They also practiced the presentation of the flag to a Nancy Reagan stand-in. The flag she'll actually receive tonight was flying over the USS Ronald Reagan in the South Atlantic on the day Mr. Reagan died. Among the 700 invited guests here will be Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger and former Secretary of State George Shultz, stars of old Hollywood Charlton Heston and Kirk Douglas, and members of the Disney and Sinatra families. They'll overlook the spectacular views of the Santa Susana Mountains surrounding the Reagan Presidential Library. Its dedication a dozen years ago was the first time 5 living presidents gathered together. And the words Ronald Reagan spoke that day are inscribed on the limestone wall right where he'll be buried.
And I know in my heart that man is good, that what is right will always eventually triumph, and that there is purpose and worth to each and every life.
Now, about a half an hour ago, Mr. Reagan's plane was scheduled to pass over Tampico, Illinois, where he was born some 93 years ago. The plane to tip its wings in tribute. Dan?
Sandra Hughes reporting live from the Reagan Library. Thanks. For the millions who have followed it on television and for those of us who have witnessed it in person, this week-long coast-to-coast transcontinental tribute to Ronald Reagan has unfolded with military precision, the grace of a ballet, and the grandeur of opera. CBS's Wyatt Andrews reports that was no accident.
Beyond all of the tributes and the elegance of the funeral for an American president, it was also a triumph of American planning. On 4 days' notice, more than 6,000 police and military officers began implementing a plan for a day they knew was coming. Some had even rehearsed for years. Everything we saw, from how to handle the casket, which horses would pull the caisson, how many aircraft to use in the flyover, even who stood where in the rotunda. It was all in the official plan. There was also a family plan. Hundreds of people who had worked for the Reagans, including much of his famous advance team, dropped what they were doing to manage press and to implement the wishes of Nancy.
We came in and we did the same job for the president that we had done before. This was, in many ways, our tribute to him because this was, like I say, his last trip.
One critical part of the plan was executed by the Secret Service and diplomatic security, which out of nowhere had 25 heads of state and 14 foreign ministers, all requiring round-the-clock protection. Foreign dignitaries like Tony Blair, Mikhail Gorbachev, the new Iraqi president Ghazi al-Yawar, Prince Charles, plus all 4 former presidents, officials who at any other time would cause a stir all by themselves, this time traveled seamlessly in and out of town.
Calls are coming in from the embassies, not just one time, but many times. Well, can my foreign minister come? Can I? What do I wear? When will it be? What time will we have to go to the State Department? What do I need to do? What time will the cathedral start?
The gravity of the ceremonies and their essential dignity owed much to the performance of the military. They guarded their former commander, carried him through the cathedral, and finally took him coast to coast, sea to shining sea. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, Washington.
Coming up next on the CBS Evening News, the prison abuse scandal. Who approved the use of dogs in the interrogation of prisoners? CBS News has uncovered more details on this story. We'll give you the inside story. Then later, the power to inspire. Ronald Reagan had it, and we'll show you how he used it. Tonight's edition of The Legacy. But first, CBS News honors fallen heroes. J.T. Robluski was an athlete and a scholar, an honor student who played football and baseball and loved history. His father says J.T. was a natural leader. After 9/11, he was more determined than ever to join the Marines, thought there was no greater honor than to serve his country. After his death, the baseball team at his high school honored him by wearing his old number, 31.
Night. It's when most of the world sleeps. A time to reset our clock so we can begin a new day. It's all part of the rhythm of life. But for many, this healthy cycle is disrupted because sleep doesn't always come easy. Fortunately, there's Ambien. Ambien is a prescription sleep aid that can help you get a full night's sleep. While natural sleep is best,